Hi, I'm Jeff Ludy, the owner of Houston Window Experts, and we're here today to make a video about NFRC labels on windows. What are they? What do they mean? And how can you tell if you're really getting what you paid for when you bought a window? So we are here at our showroom in Houston, Texas, where we carry 20 brands of beautiful windows and doors, very energy efficient windows and doors as well. And you know, we're kind of like the CarMax of windows. Instead of saying one brand's better than another or arguing with you about what you should put in your home, we're not going to try to make your house fit our window. We're going to make our window fit your house. It's the way we do things. And we treat people with honesty, dignity, and respect. I think that's the way everyone should be treated. That's the way I want to be treated. Today we're going to talk about this big misconception in the Salesforce field of window selling about energy ratings and how important they are. Now let me tell you this right up front. If you are concerned with return on investment for buying windows, I got a little tool, I'm going to show you something pretty cool. If you're concerned with your return on investment for buying new windows, don't just measure it by how much energy efficiency your windows offer, because it would take you, according to EnergyStar.gov, somewhere between 7 and 15 years to recoup the money that you would spend on your light bill. However, an interesting fact that you should know is that people don't just buy windows for energy reasons, they also buy them for a lot of other reasons. Let me give you a couple of examples. One is sound reduction. You know, double pane windows compared to single pane windows are usually going to give you almost a 40 to 50% reduction in sound. Yes, you're going to save about 30% typically on energy as well. If that's, you know, something that's important to you, that's good to know. I also like the idea of security. New windows are more secure and they're safer. New windows let in less air than single pane windows do. So if you have allergy issues, COPD, dust issues, asthma issues, these are all things that contribute to making your life better. Also, think about energy in this way. If your AC was going to run and last for 10 years before you needed a new one, now that it's running a third less because you have new windows, maybe it'll last for 15 years. So there's a lot of things to consider, but don't be caught up in a trap of comparing window labels, energy labels, like somehow that's going to be the purpose you buy a window. I can promise you they're all so close to each other. There's such great products out there right now that don't get hung up on just that one issue. So today let's talk about NFRC and the label. This is the label you're going to see on every window. NFRC stands for National Fenestration Ratings Council. It's basically the industry that everyone in America who makes a window has to subject their window to them for independent testing. Now, it may not be that NFRC does the testing, but they set the standard for the testing, and you go to private laboratories across the US, you submit your window is tested by them. It's a third-party independent lab, and then that's the information you're allowed to publish on your NFRC sticker. So let's look at an NFRC sticker. Here's a typical one. I really like, this is the NT window made out of Fort Worth, Texas. They're a Texas product. Really great design for our climate here in the South. And if you notice here, this window has a sticker on it, okay? And right up here, this NTWA13, we'll get you a close-up shot of that. That is actually the NFRC label number. If you went to nfrc.org and you entered in that what is it, like 15 digits, it would pull up all the specs specific to this window. Now there's four major things you're looking for on an NFRC sticker. One is U factor, the second is solar heat gain, the third is visible transmission, and then the last one is air leakage. These are the four that are required. There's actually a fifth bonus one, which is condensation rating. It's not required to be on the window, but some window companies also publish that data, which is important to know if you're concerned about condensation forming on your windows. So let's talk about all five of those quickly. One is U factor. That tells me how well is this window designed at keeping the heat that my heater's generating in the winter from escaping this window. Okay, that's the first one. So if you're up in the northern climate where it's 9 months of the year you're running your heater compared to us where we spend 9 months of our year running the air conditioner, this U factor is probably going to be the most important information that you would want for your window. The next one is solar heat gain, which is just the opposite, right? Now we're talking about how well is this window at performing to keep the cool in and the heat out. So how much solar heat gain does this window allow to pass through? Now, these are like a teeter-totter, okay? They oppose each other. A window can't be everything to everyone. So if you're more focused on U factor, you're going to find that your solar heat gain numbers are going to go up. And by the way, go up means not better. All of these numbers, the lower the number, the better, except for visible transmission. So the lower the U factor, the lower the heat gain, the better performing it is for that category. So think about this. If you wanted a really, really good low high performance number on U factor, which means it keeps the heat in, or your house is staying warmer for less energy consumption, they're going to want to let some of the heat gain come through that window, right? Doesn't that make sense? Like if you had a really cold winter day and there's a beautiful sunshine out, okay, snow on the ground, but sun's out, you'd want that heat to come through that window. That's going to help reduce your energy costs when it comes to heating your house. But if you live where I live in the southern climate, it's just the opposite. We don't care about the cold. Oh my gosh, we get like 5 days a year that are below 35 or 40 degrees in Houston. We don't care. What we care about instead is solar heat gain. How much of that heat can I keep out? Because that's where our light bills get the $500, $600, $700, $800 a month because of, you know, 2-story houses and the kids are boiling upstairs and you're freezing downstairs, and new windows helps make the house more comfortable. The third piece on here is visible transmission. This tells me how much of the natural outdoor light is still going to come through this window, because you have to remember, the better it performs at reducing the heat, also it means that the less light you're going to get coming through. If you have a 1950s mid-century modern that has big overhangs on the outside, lower ceilings on the inside, and you're stuck with maybe 2 windows in the living room, 1 window in the dining room, 1 window in each bedroom. You don't have a lot of windows anyway to begin with. The more visible transmission you can get, the higher that number is, the more lively and alive and bright your rooms are going to look. And so when you have a house that doesn't have very many windows, this is a really important thing to pay attention to, because you're going to start getting a darker and darker and darker house. And no one likes to feel like they're in a cave. So it's one of these things where you need expert advice to help you find the right balance, because we could pick the glass package that works best for your home, for your conditions, and for what you're trying to achieve. Let's say, for example, you lived in the Woodlands, Texas, where literally there's a lot of trees. You could have a higher number, which means less efficient on solar heat gain, because you don't have a lot of solar heat gain with all these trees, plus you don't get a lot of sun. So we would shoot instead for a higher visible transmission number, so we can get you more light coming through that window. And then the air leakage, basically what they want to know is, how well is this window insulated? You know, counting the weather stripping and the way it locks and the way it's welded and constructed together. This has nothing to do with glass at this point. This has to do with the actual weather stripping and things. And they didn't used to measure that stuff years ago. I'm glad they do, because you can have great glass in a poorly built window and people think, I've got great glass, until all the air leaks from around your window edge. Now what are you going to do? So the air leakage numbers are required to be less than 0.3 CFM. And this window basically meets or exceeds that. It doesn't tell us where it falls, and there are some specs that you can actually get that show you the actual real numbers, because almost every window is going to beat the government minimum standards for that. But this tells us that it does equal or is less than the 0.3 CFM. Now, it's interesting to know, how do they test for air leakage? You know, I wondered that. So let me tell you real quick how they do it. Basically, they have a chamber that this window is attached to that opening, and it's completely sealed, perfectly sealed. Then they cover the inside with a sheet of plastic where the window is. Then they build up the pressure using a fan. They build up the pressure and they measure the pressure inside the room, and that's considered the tear. In other words, that's what the room would be if there was no air leaking at all. Then they remove the plastic and they start seeing how much they have to increase the speed of the fan to keep it at that same tear. That difference between the fan increase between no plastic on the window and the fan speed when there was plastic on the window, that tells them the measurement, little formula there, a little calculator that they use for that, tells them how much air is actually passing through that window as a whole. So let me show you this last one, I'm sorry, condensation resistance. The higher the number, the better. Okay? A lot of times people, they say, one of the reasons I'm replacing my windows is I hate how my windows sweat all the time. And especially with us, we have such a humid climate that windows tend to sweat a lot here when we finally get some moisture inside, and then, you know, the temperature difference between the inside and outside. Happens most in the mornings, happens most if you live on the lake or you have a pool by the backyard, but condensation resistance is a number you can measure. Anything over about a 45 is considered good. It's hard to hit a 60. I've seen one or two windows that are 60 and they're triple pane and they have a great big dead airspace between them. But most of them are going to be in the 50 range or 55 range, somewhere around there. All right, so this little tool is really handy because it's going to tell me, now it's obviously it could be off, right? But it's usually very, very close. It's going to tell me what the actual readings are for this window because I'd like to compare them to what the label says. Ah, a little investigative reporting here, huh? By the way, I hope you love our videos. We love making these videos, and we get comments all around the world. People say, Jeff, I wish you lived in Denver. Or, Jeff, I wish you were in San Diego. Or, by the way, we have lots of great friends that are in this industry. They're great at what they do, equally as great as we are. Maybe they're just not on YouTube. And let me know where you live. Maybe I know somebody in your area that we could refer you to. Okay, so this is really cool. Basically, I'm going to put this between the glass here, and then it's going to give me its readings. See, so basically I'm reading this now. Okay, so this tells me that the solar heat gain coefficient on this window is a 0.28. It tells me that only 1% of the infrared rays are coming through, which is awesome, right? Because that basically keeps from discoloring your floor and things like that. Visible transmission is telling me I can see 64% of the light coming through. And it tells me that my UV factor, not U factor was cold, this is UV. The UV, the amount of ultraviolet light coming through the window, is 0.04. So I'm going to hit hold. That's going to lock this in place so I can read these and compare. Okay, so there's going to be some discrepancies, but I'm going to explain them to you. So UV, 0.4, that's really awesome. Think about your carpet and your flooring and your furniture and your drapes lasting a lot longer, because you saw before I tested this that the UV was 100%. All UV was making its way to the meter. Visible says 64%. Well, Jeff, that's not what this says. This says 50%. How can it be? Which of these two is wrong? Well, guess what? They're both right. Here's how I know. When they make a rating like this, visible transmission, they're not talking about just the glass. They're talking about the entire window. So really, when they test a window, they're actually testing from frame to frame and frame to frame. That entire space, you want to know, what is my rating? So while the glass itself is 64%, what do you think the visible transmission is on this vinyl right here? Correct, 0. You can't see through the vinyl, or through this vinyl, or through this vinyl, and you can't see through those grids. So they test the entire unit, where I'm testing just the glass space. Makes sense now, right? So this glass is a 64% visible transmission, whereas the window entirely is a 0.50 as a unit. The same is true here. So the solar heat gain, according to this, is a 0.28, and they say, well, it's a 0.21. coefficient. Why? Because the glass itself is only a 0.28, but when I take the entire unit, I know that I'm not getting solar heat gain through the vinyl. I'm only getting the solar heat gain through the glass. And by the way, you'll notice that like this has a 0.21 because it has grids. If I was to take the grids off of there, it'd probably go up to a 0.22. So the grids are actually also effective in reducing the amount of heat that comes through. I mean, if you really want a super low number, build a wall, right? You're going to get a solar heat gain of 0, but you're also going to get a visible transmission of 0. So anyway, and then of course infrared is really cool. It doesn't really pertain much to NFRC labels and stickers, but it's good to know what the infrared capacity is on the glass. And let's see. I wonder if we could talk about. Oh yeah, I want to mention something to you about the stickers. So this happens a lot. A lot of times when window sales people are going out to sell windows, they know that one of the things you're going to compare, because it's the only thing you can really compare numbers except for price, right, is in writing is there's going to be an NFRC sticker on the window. So they're thinking to themselves, okay, how do I win the window sticker game? You know, I want to have the best window sticker so I want to get the job. I want the homeowner to look at me and say, you've got a better rating than that last guy did. And being that NFRC is a third party and they're independent, there's a real good chance that you can trust them and say, that guy beat you. Well, here's kind of a scam, a little game that a lot of window companies play. What they'll do is they'll take a regular window and they will ask for their sample window to have double of the low E coating. So for example, on a window, and I have a video about low E coatings, really worth watching. Great video about low E coatings so you can understand them better. But on a low E coating, which is low emissivity coating, silver oxide that's applied to the window, that actually creates the reduction of the solar heat gain. That you have what's called surface 1, which is the outside of the glass, and then the inside of the glass is surface 4. So that the next layer of glass over from the outside is surface 2, then surface 3, then surface 4. This is 4, that's 1. Surface 2 is where they apply the low E coating. Okay, it's on the outside piece of glass, on the inside of the outside piece of glass, so it doesn't get damaged, because it is, you could scratch it. And it rejects the heat at the very first sign of it. I can customize it when I order a window. And I can say, I also want it on surface number 3, which would be the inside of the inside piece of glass, so between the panes. Now guess what? Instead of 3 coats of low E, this is a 3-coat window, I'm gonna end up with 6 coats of low E. So guess what? I could get my solar heat gain number down to like a 0.15. I could get this down to a 0.15. And doing so, I would show you my window sample and you would go, wow, 0.15, that's really awesome. Don't forget to look at the visible transmission number, because that would go down into the 40s if you did that, okay? And by the way, you don't need it in Houston. You don't need 6 layers of low E, okay? You just don't need it. So a lot of guys go out and they show you a sample and you say, well, that guy's window was better than this guy's. And then you buy that window, but guess what? You don't get that window. They don't actually put it on there. You know why they don't put it on there? Because if they put it on there, you'd refuse the window. When they put that window in, that window's gonna look like the bottom of a Coke bottle. You know how the Coke bottles look like green? Maybe you're old enough to remember a Coke in a bottle. The green in the bottom, right? Like a Topo Chico bottle. And it would be so green from that silver oxide. I'll give you an example of how green it's gonna be. Check this out. So if you notice right now, come right in front of the window, if you can. You might see Clay's reflection in there, but we need this. Notice how this looks right now. See how much kind of like a greenish hint it has? Now watch when I put this layer of green over that layer of green. See how much greener it is now? That's really pretty crazy, isn't it? So if I look at the visible transmission, when I have 2 layers of that, my visible transmission went down to 31, and that's pretty cool. Except I don't really want visible transmission of 31. I want my window to look good and work well. So I had a lady who asked me one time, she said, Jeff, how come the other guy's U factor is so much better? And how come his solar heat gain is so much better? I think I want to buy windows from him. And I told her, I said, look, I'm telling you the truth. It happens. People will sell you a window that you don't get because to you, they all look the same. I mean, when they show up 2 months later with your windows on a truck, it's a white window and it's vinyl and it's got glass. How do you know you're even getting the window you bought, okay? So my suggestion to you would be take a picture of the NFRC sticker on the sample window they showed you, okay? And then I would make sure that the window they brought out to your house has that same number on it of the NFRC sticker. So I told this lady, I said, I think they're gaming you. I think you're not gonna get that window. I think you're just in the window sales tactics world right now. And she went ahead and went with that other company. And I told her, I said, well, here's my warning to you. I said, I've heard of windows showing up with no stickers on them at all. And I said, if they show up with your full house full of windows and there's no sticker on it at all, what are you gonna do? She said, I'm gonna refuse the order. Well, guess what? That's exactly what happened. She did refuse the order and then she bought windows from me. So come out here to my warehouse. I wanna show you something. So they told her, they said, well, what happened was all of your stickers blew off when we were going down I-45. And that's Sarah there on the right. If you buy windows from us, you'll get a chance to meet Sarah. She handles payments. So look, when windows are shipped, look at this. See how they're all stacked together like that, okay? So they're layered on a truck like this, one window in front of another, in front of another, in front of another. How did the window stickers blow off is beyond me. They told her all the window stickers blew off. Here's a window sticker. Look, let's see how easy it is to get this off. Now it's on here good enough that it shouldn't come off when the wind's blowing, but it's not on here so good that we're gonna end up with a big sticky mess when we're done. So, there we go, I got it. Now once I get it started, I can pull that sticker off. But that sticker doesn't just fly off when you're going down the highway, and it certainly doesn't fly off when you've got window in front of window in front of window in front of window. So buyer beware. You know, these window stickers are required. It's kind of like the mattress tag thing that you're not supposed to remove. These are required to be on here so that you can see exactly what window you got. My advice to you, don't focus 100% of your buying decision on energy, because it's not going to matter. It's important, but it's not where you should spend your focus. Make sure that you get a good screenshot or a picture or something of the NFRC sticker that they sent you in the sample that you saw. That way when it shows up, it's there. Check the stickers when they come to install your windows to make sure that the actual sticker matches what you said you would buy and what you were going to get. And lastly, but most importantly, I think, is in the agreement that you sign, when they give you a quote, don't let it just be a quote that says 10 windows, $5,000 installed. It needs to say the brand name, the model of the window, because there are different models, just like Chevy has different models. And it needs to say what kind of glass package. It needs to say on there you're getting low E 366, you're getting low E 270. It needs to mention whether or not you're getting argon gas. All these specs are important to have. Accurate, specified, written pricing so that you know exactly what to expect. And if they show up at anything less, you need to reject that order and give me a call. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe. We try to make great videos every week. And comment, send me your questions. If there's something I can help answer when it comes to buying windows, we're here to help. If you're in Houston area and you're on our website, there's a contact form you can fill out. We'd be glad to come out to your house. We consider it a great privilege and our honor to meet with you and to talk about windows. Have a great day.